In the world of bodybuilding, legends are defined by what they achieved, but some are defined by what they could have been. Paul Dillett stood 6'1", competed at nearly 300 pounds of carved muscle, and, after exploding from Montreal's nightclub scene to dominate the 1993 Night of Champions and 1994 Ironman Pro, seemed destined for the Olympia throne. Nicknamed Freak Einstein for his unreal proportions, he was the sport's ultimate genetic wildcard, until sudden medical emergencies and backstage controversies derailed his rise. Why did the most physically imposing athlete of his era become bodybuilding's biggest what if? The answer starts at the moment his meteoric ascent was set in motion. Born in 1965 to a French father and Jamaican mother, Paul Dillett grew up in Montreal, surrounded by the energy of a working-class city that pushed him towards sports from an early age. Even as a teenager, he stood out, not just for his height, but for a frame that seemed built for power. Football became his first athletic proving ground, and while stories circulate about a stint in the Canadian Football League, no official records confirm a professional career. What is certain is that his size and speed earned him a reputation as a natural enforcer, someone who could dominate any field or gym he entered. In the late 1980s, Dillett's attention shifted from football to the weight room. Inspired by the larger-than-life presence of wrestlers like Tony Atlas and Rocky Johnson, he started training with a single-minded focus on muscle and strength. Montreal's nightlife scene, always in need of imposing figures for security, seemed a natural fit for a young man with his physical gifts. Though the details of his time as a bouncer remain more myth than documented fact, the image stuck. Paul Dillett was the kind of man you wanted on your side when things got rough. The transformation came fast. Within just a few years of serious lifting, Dillett's physique exploded. He packed on muscle at a rate that stunned even seasoned lifters. By 91, he decided to test himself against the best, entering the North American Championships. He placed second in the heavyweight division on his first try, an unheard-of result for a rookie. The following year, he returned to win the event outright, earning his IFBB Pro card in 1992. The bodybuilding world took notice. At 6'1" and closing in on 300 pounds in contest shape, with a narrow waist and broad, sloping shoulders, Dillett looked like he had been engineered for the stage. It wasn't long before the nickname Freak Einstein started making the rounds in gyms and magazines. Fans and rivals alike marveled at the way his muscle bellies seemed to stretch the limits of human anatomy. Everything about him suggested a new kind of champion was on the rise, one whose raw potential and physical gifts set expectations sky high. For a sport obsessed with size and spectacle, Paul Dillett arrived as the ultimate wildcard, and the countdown to his first pro season began. Paul Dillett's rookie season in the pros began with a bang, and it didn't take long for the hype to turn into hardware. At the 1993 Night of Champions in New York, he stepped on stage for his first major pro contest and left with the winner's trophy in hand. The crowd had seen big men before, but nothing quite like this. At 6'1" and nearly 290 pounds, Dillett dwarfed the field. His arms looked carved from granite. His shoulders seemed to belong on a comic book hero, and even the established stars found themselves standing in his shadow. The judges had no choice but to reward the spectacle. First place right out of the gate. That victory sent shockwaves through the sport. Magazine covers and press columns ran wild with predictions. Writers called him the future of bodybuilding, a man with the size to shift the entire standard of the era. Photos from that night still circulate on fan forums. Dillett, all sinew and width, standing next to veterans who suddenly looked like also-rans. The message was clear. If this was what the new breed could do, the old guard had better watch out. He followed up with another statement win at the 1994 Ironman Pro Invitational. This time, the stage lights in California revealed even more muscle packed onto his frame. Dillett's waist stayed tight. His arms ballooned to nearly 24 inches, and his legs were thick enough to silence any doubters. He outmassed and outpowered nearly everyone, earning another first-place finish and cementing his place as bodybuilding's most talked-about newcomer. Comparisons to legends came fast and loud. In lineup photos, Dillett made even mass monsters like Nasser El Sonbadi and Kevin Levrone look compact. Analysts and fans alike wondered how anyone could match the blend of size and shape he brought. Some called him the next Mr. Olympia in waiting. Others debated whether the sport was ready for a champion built on such freakish proportions. But one thing was certain, Paul Dillett had arrived, and for a brief moment, it looked like nothing could stop him. At the 1996 Mr. Olympia, the spotlight landed squarely on Paul Dillett, his frame at over 285 pounds with a waist that seemed carved from stone, drew both adi and scrutiny. Fans and insiders buzzed about his potential to shake up the order, yet the final scorecard told a different story. Dillett landed in 5th place after Nasser El Sonbati's disqualification, but the numbers alone don't explain the disappointment that rippled through the crowd. Judges cited a lack of crisp separation and conditioning, terms that, in bodybuilding, separate legends from contenders. Backstage, the debate turned technical. Chris Aceto, who had guided Dillett through countless preps, later admitted that keeping Paul razor sharp for a full show was a battle. He was the best pure genetic athlete I ever worked with, but holding him at 100% through every round, that was the real fight. Even Lee Priest, never one to mince words, put it bluntly. Paul could have beaten anyone, if he ever nailed the conditioning. Politics, sure, but it's mostly about being ready. In the eyes of his peers, Dillett's size was never in question. It was the elusive polish, the fine grain and stage mastery, that kept him just out of reach of the title. The scorecard became a symbol of what could have been, fueling a hunger in Dillett to reinvent his approach. For a man built to dominate, coming up short at Olympia was more than a missed opportunity. It was a challenge he couldn't ignore. Years of chasing perfection on stage came with a cost that few outside the sport ever see. The aftermath of repeated health scares, especially the harrowing collapse at the 1994 Arnold Classic, forced Paul Dillett to reevaluate everything, from his training methods to his future in the industry. For a man whose body had always been his calling card, the realization that it could also be his greatest vulnerability changed his perspective. The grind of competition, the politics, and the physical risks all weighed heavy. Instead of chasing another Olympia, Dillett decided to build something new. In 2007, he launched the World Beauty Fitness and Fashion Incorporated, better known as the WBFF. The idea was simple but bold. Create a federation where athletes could showcase not just muscle, but marketability, confidence, and personal style. As founder and CEO, Dillett rewrote the rulebook. The WBFF offered categories for both fitness models and bodybuilders, emphasizing stage presence and overall appeal. Athletes frustrated with the old guard found a place where individuality counted as much as symmetry or size. Dillett's vision wasn't just about competition. He wanted to give athletes a platform to build careers beyond the stage, to be recognized for more than just their bodies. Today, the WBFF is a global brand, with events spanning North America, Europe, and Australia. In interviews, Dillett speaks openly about the lessons learned from his own setbacks, how failure and adversity shaped his approach as a leader. For many, his greatest legacy isn't a trophy, but the federation that changed the face of modern fitness. Paul Dillett earned his IFBB Pro card in 1992 and, within 2 years, claimed first place at both the 1993 Night of Champions and the 1994 Ironman Pro, competing at over 295 pounds. Yet despite early victories and a physique that drew comparisons to the sport's greatest, Dillett's career was marked by high-profile setbacks, including his well-documented collapse at the 1994 Arnold Classic and controversial Olympia placings. Official scorecards show he finished 5th at the 1996 Mr. Olympia, not the 8th commonly cited, highlighting ongoing confusion in the historical record. Some backstage dynamics and judging decisions remain unexplained, as do the full medical details behind Dillett's on-stage emergencies. In 2007, he founded the WBF, shifting his focus from athlete to innovator and reshaping the fitness industry. Today, Paul Dillett's legacy stands as both a testament to rare genetic potential and a reminder of how quickly opportunity can shift in elite sport, leaving key questions and his true ceiling forever open.